What's going on, guys, and welcome back to F1 2021 My Team Career Mode for Season 3, Round number 9, the British Grand Prix. We start this one off with renegotiating with Daniel Ricciardo as our teammate at the midway points in the season. We have to renegotiate contracts. He does accept our new contract, so we will have Daniel Ricciardo for the rest of the season, so that's always good. I like mixing up drivers at the end of every season, but I do like to keep the same driver for at least a whole season because I think it just, I don't know, doesn't really work too well if you don't do it like that. It just, I don't know, I like having things the same for a whole season. As we put a few upgrades on the car, well, one upgrade on the car, a chassis upgrade, because Red Bull have actually overtaken us as the quickest car. I don't think they had done this last time, but if they have, well, I don't know. If they hadn't, then they have done it now. But I mean, you can still see that top 5 group are massively close to each other. McLaren a little bit further back there, but still, it's super close at the top here. And yeah, it's gonna be pretty interesting to see how long we can keep this, you know, such a tight group going for, because it's definitely exciting. So, like I was saying, I don't think I have actually said it yet, but basically, if you've seen my videos from Silverstone in the last 2 seasons, I don't tend to fare too well around here. I don't know what it is, my pace is not great, especially in qualifying. I mean, you'll notice, and I don't know if you guys have noticed this with the F1 game either, but the AI seem to be quicker in quali than they are in the race, and in this game, unlike F1 2020, you can't change the difficulty, you know, between quali and the race, so it's a little bit annoying, but my pace just isn't really there in quali, but then I'm pretty much there on pace, if not a little bit better than I perhaps should be in the race. We do make it through to Q2, but only just P14. It's only P9 for Ricciardo, although he only did 1 flying lap, I'm pretty sure, and he actually got held up by, I think it was Mazepin or Schumacher, one of the Hasses at the end of his run, so yeah, he didn't have the greatest run there. And although I am showing you the mid part of the lap here, because I've slightly stuffed up, just realizing now as I'm recording this, in that I haven't shown you the whole full, the full lap, I do end up going out in Q2. Don't make it through to Q3, which is annoying when I am the second quickest, I've got the second quickest car on the grid, but it's just what happens in this situation. I'm P14 at the moment as we're going through on this quickest lap here. I'm a decent amount up on Delta pace here though, but so it is going to be a better position and a better lap. It ends up being P14. Sorry, I thought I did better than P14, but apparently not. Ricciardo goes P3, so much better run from him there. And yeah, it's not a great start for us. It usually isn't at Silverstone, so let's see what we can do.
Great Britain, then, one of only 2 countries to have held a Grand Prix in every single year of the Formula One World Championship. And the circuit extends that record further for today's Grand Prix. The 3.6 miles of the Silverstone circuit in Great Britain is hallowed ground to the Formula One faithful. We have 18 corners that wrap around this former World War II airbase and some good passing opportunities at the end of the DRS zones. Anthony Davidson is alongside me as usual for the race today. Let's talk about Shaw. No grid penalties, no mitigating circumstances, just a poor qualifying performance and a very disappointing start position for them today.
They'll have a sinking feeling as they look up from the cockpit and realise they're in a different postcode to the start line for sure. But the one positive they can hold on to is that the car is quick and they can make their way through the field.
Let's run you through the driver grid order for today's exciting race. Sergio Perez will lead us away from pole position, edging out Antonio Giovinazzi, who'll start from P2. Considering the rest of the grid, we have Verstappen, Leclerc, Lewis Hamilton and Norris, Ricciardo, Sainz, Joe and Pierre Gasly, Tsunoda, Ocon, Christian Lundgaard, Shaw, Fernando Alonso, Bottas, Sebastian Vettel and Lance Stroll, Russell, Mick Schumacher, Mazepin and Nicholas Latifi. And with lights out just moments away, it's time to go down to the track.
Alright, so here we are, P14 on the grid for the British Grand Prix, our home Grand Prix, but it's always a pretty tough one for us as the lights go out and we are underway. We've got the two Alpines of LUNDGAARD and Ocon up ahead of us, and everybody gets a pretty sensible start, a pretty decent start all round, but then we get a good little move on LUNDGAARD, but we don't quite do it, but we're going to send it up the inside of him and of Ocon and Tsunoda. We end up 3 wide with those two drivers around the next couple of corners. It is very, very scary stuff. We end up going very wide because there's just cars all over the place. We're still side by side with Yuki Tsunoda at this point here, and we're going to stay side by side as we go down the middle straight here, and we're just going to try and keep it, but he's still sticking with us side by side through the long left hand corner, but we're just about going to brake later, slot ourselves up in front of him, and going through to come up to Copse. We have got past Tsunoda. We're up into P11. I'm just checking my heads up display because I was a bit worried. I had a little bit of contact there, but I think we're all good. But then I go really, really wide out of Copse there through Copse. This part here of the track is definitely my weakest. Kind of Copse through the Estes section is one of my weakest sections on any track in this game, to be honest. It's just such a poor section for me as we carry on here, trying to keep Yuki Tsunoda behind us. We've lost a bit of ground to Guan Yu Zhou and Pierre Gasly up ahead, but at the moment we've just got to try and keep Tsunoda behind. That is the main thing here. Up into P11, so we're almost into the points, but I definitely want to at least get into the points fairly quickly in this race because, yeah, this is just such a poor race for me. In Season 1, we had a very good race. I think we finished like P5, but that was because it was such a crazy race. My pace was terrible, and my pace last year was also bad, and this year, it's the same thing again. So, yeah, I think if we do run this race in the future, because I think I probably will get rid of this from next season, we will in future though, if we do run it again, change the difficulty. But now we have Guan Yu Zhou going for a move on Pierre Gasly. He tried to get the move done, and he's actually got the move done there, and Pierre Gasly has had to concede the position, but I'm sure he's going to fight his way back through, try and get past the Chinese driver. But it'll be interesting to see how that happens there. We've got yellow flags up ahead of us, and I believe that is Esteban Ocon in the Alpine. He's had a mechanical failure and is out of the race, so that's really unfortunate for him. He was running in a decent enough position just behind us and Tsunoda, so yeah, unfortunate for Ocon there and Alpine, that's for sure. We're continuing on here. We can't quite push to catch up to Gasly and Zhou because we've just got Tsunoda far too close on the back of us at the moment, so proving to be quite difficult. As at the front of the field here, Sergio Perez leads the way with a Red Bull 1-2, Antonio Giovinazzi in second place, the previous race winner, of course, in Austria. Max Verstappen is currently in third place, and we've got Charles Leclerc, the championship leader, in fourth place. These guys pulling a little bit away from Hamilton, Ricciardo, and I think that's Sainz and Norris, the next cars behind them. And then after that, you've got another bit of a gap to Zhou, Gasly, and myself. Me, I'm quite a bit further back than Zhou and Gasly though, and a bit of a mistake, a bit of a run wide through the first S's to the middle of the S's section means that Tsunoda has a look, and now he's having a look around the outside into this next corner. He's going to try and keep it around the outside, but I'm going to try and keep it around the inside, but he just about manages to get past, but I've stayed up very close behind him, and I'm going to go for a dive into the chicane. We're going to keep ourselves right there. It's some good racing between me and Yuki Tsunoda, and we're going to just try and hang it around the outside of the final corner, and we managed to just about get the position back. We're going to go a little bit defensive through here though, but then there's yellow flags up ahead. Who is that? It's Carlos Sainz out again. I think this is his third DNF, his third mechanical failure in 9 races. It is not going well for Sainz this season at all. As we have a look further up the road at Daniel Ricciardo going for a move on Lewis Hamilton, he can't quite get anything done at that point, and he's got Lando Norris, his teammate from last season, of course, behind, putting pressure on him as well. And as they head through here, going through to Copse Corner, Hamilton is still ahead. Lando Norris is really looking good at the back there, very close to the back of him, and he is now going for a move up the inside of Ricciardo through the S section, and it looks like that is a beautiful little move. Lando Norris has got the move done on his former teammate. That brings him up to, I believe, P6, and Ricciardo down to P7. So good little bit of racing there from those three drivers. As behind them at a similar sort of time, you've got Lance Stroll and Sebastian Vettel battling it out here. Vettel going to try and get a move done on his teammate. He can't quite get it done around the outside of that corner there, but now he's going to try and go around the outside into the chicane. He's managed to keep himself on the outside. That brings him to the inside for the next part of the chicane and through the final corner, and the four-time world champion Sebastian Vettel has managed to get the position on his teammate. And now Lance Stroll is under fire from George Russell in the Alfa Romeo. There's a titanic battle going on here between these two. He's just had to defend from his teammate and has not succeeded, and now he's having to defend against Russell in the Alfa Romeo. The Aston Martin, of course, not being the greatest car this season. It is kind of down there to towards the bottom with Alfa Romeo. So yeah, he's really having to defend hard, and these guys are still side by side as they continue on through this lap. It's some great racing here between the Canadian and the British driver, as I think George Russell has just about managed to get the move done as they come through and go down to Copse, but Lance Stroll is not going to give up easily, and he's going to have a look to the inside of Copse, and they almost go side by side through Copse. It's very, very close. Now Lance Stroll, he's trying to get the move done into the S's, but he can't find his way past. George Russell is defending like crazy. He's making that Alfa Romeo as wide as he possibly can, and he might have got it done, although Stroll will now have DRS. Russell does not have DRS, and Stroll now is going for the outside. Russell does not give him a whole lot of room into this next corner. He's going to try and hang it around the outside, but Russell's going to get the traction. They're still side by side. This has been a whole lap of side by side action right now as they're doing it again into the chicane. Beautiful racing here around the final corner. It looks like this time round George Russell has managed to get the position finally after a lap of racing on Lance Stroll. That brings him up another position. Although there was some great racing going on elsewhere in the field, myself, it wasn't going good at all. I was losing quite a lot of time to Gasly and Zhou up ahead. Those two were having a bit of a battle themselves, but I was just losing way too much time to them. I could have maybe gained a bit more time if I wasn't having to defend so hard from Tsunoda as well, because Tsunoda was right behind me and sticking with me, and I was just having to defend too much from him that I couldn't push as hard as I wanted to try and catch up to Gasly. As we look ahead at the front of the grid once more, this top four group is very, very close. Perez still leads the way from Giovinazzi, Verstappen and Leclerc, but then it's an even bigger gap now back to Hamilton, Norris and Ricciardo. It actually looks like Norris might have got past Ricciardo as well for 5th, so it's looking pretty good for him, although his teammate is up in 3rd. But yeah, at the moment, Sergio Perez kind of just controlling the race from up the front, but it is a very close battle in that top 4. As we come in on lap number 12, or I think it's the end of lap number 11, in for our one, and I believe only pit stop. We're doing a one stop from softs onto a set of medium tyres, and I'm kind of hoping that maybe I'll be better on the mediums. I found this at a lot of tracks that I'm not so great at, like Silverstone, like Catalunya, you know, tracks like that where I'm not that good. I seem to be better on the medium tyres, or on a different set of tyres to the softs. I'm just not good on the softs, and then I'm a little bit better on the medium, so we're going to see if maybe I can claw some time back on these medium tyres, and it seems to be working pretty well at the moment, because we've now got a, well, to this point here, lap number 13 or 15, whatever that says, we've got like a 5.5 second gap back to Tsunoda. Now, he was right there within half a second of me before. So we've pulled out a lot of time, we've put out a big gap here, and this is showing that, one, we've now got some fresh air, so we can now push for Gasly and Zhou a little bit more, and also it just seems to be that on the medium tyres, I have better race pace than I do on the softs, so this is the time to push as hard as I can. As back at the front once again here, you will have seen a bit of a change of order right now, because everybody here has come into the pits. Perez still leads the way, but Verstappen has managed to, I think he's actually got the undercut done on Giovinazzi, so it is no longer a Red Bull 1-2, as he is now Verstappen is now the second place driver with Antonio Giovinazzi in 3rd, Leclerc still hanging on there in 4th, with those guys a pretty decent amount ahead of Norris, Hamilton and Ricciardo. as we continue on here once again, lap number 17, there wasn't a whole lot of exciting stuff going on for me. It's really just pushing as hard as I can to catch up to Gasly. I'm managing to get away from Tsunoda, not at a massively high rate, but I'm pulling a decent gap out to Tsunoda now, and I am very slowly starting to catch Gasly. So on these medium tyres, I do seem to have much better pace than I did on the softs, as now we're watching Lewis Hamilton. He's trying to make a move back on Lando Norris again. It's a beautiful move up the inside, and he's got that done pretty well here. Norris is pretty close up behind. He might have a look, but he's not really close enough, and he's going to have to concede the position for now, but hopefully he will be able to get that place back again from the other British driver. As we continue on here, lap number 19, and once again we're just chipping away at the time here. We get a warning for exceeding track limits, as I'm just pushing as hard as I can. Just went a little bit wide out of the final corner there. Not a whole lot of time gained, I wouldn't imagine, but yeah, we are catching Gasly, but I'm absolutely pushing as hard as I can. Watching on again here with the front four, because I mean this is where most of the action was happening. They weren't really battling each other, as in, like, you know, there wasn't constant overtakes or really any overtakes. They were just kind of following each other around in a train, but it's still pretty good to see, you know, top four drivers here in the race fighting each other so hard, and the positions would currently be staying the same. As we go on to lap 22, edging close to the end of the race, the gap to Gasly is now under 3 seconds. We've got over a 10-second gap to Tsunoda, so we're pulling some decent time here, but yeah, Gasly's got a bit more fresh air in front of him from Zhou. Guan Yu Zhou's managed to get away quite a bit in front, so he doesn't kind of have he's not getting slowed down because of them attacking each other, so we're just gonna have to push even harder. As behind us, the closest thing I could find to a battle at this current point in time was between the two Williams, Valtteri Bottas and Fernando Alonso. Alonso would be ahead at the moment, and these two would kind of just be running around on their own in about P12, P13, I think it was, outside the points, but still, for Williams, doing a pretty good job. And I mean, you know, they are a solid enough midfield team now, but yeah, there wouldn't be a whole lot going on here. Bottas would get very close to the back of Alonso in the DRS zones, but ultimately just couldn't quite make an overtake happen. As we are now continuing on, and we come to overtake the back marker of Nikita Mazepin, I believe that was, and I can now see Pierre Gasly right in front of me as we come on to the final lap of the British Grand Prix. Starting lap number 26, Gasly is right ahead of us. He's about 1.2 seconds ahead. We don't quite have DRS yet, but we're going to try and just push as hard as we can on this lap to see if any miracle can make us get another position. We're already P10, so we're going to be taking 1 point home, but yeah, would definitely like to have another point to add to that. And yeah, right at the end of the race here, these guys, top four, they stayed the whole race this close to each other. A great little battle, I suppose, but in the end, Perez would control the race and take the victory. Verstappen would get P2, Giovinazzi P3, and Leclerc hangs in there for P4, so that's very good for his title fight, ahead of his main rivals at the moment of myself and Ricciardo. Of course, I'm going to lose quite a few points to everybody this race round, because it is going to end up being P10. We couldn't quite catch up to Gasly. We actually don't get under a second until this point here. We come through the chicane, and that's when I managed to just about dip under the 1 second margin, but didn't manage to do that for the rest of the lap. So we're going to finish just under a second behind Pierre Gasly. It's P10 for us. Yeah, race pace here actually wasn't as good as I was hoping. I knew it wasn't going to be great, but I thought it's going to be better than quali pace, and it was, but wasn't good enough. It's only P10 for us.
They've done a brilliant job, I must say, under some intense pressure to take a well-earned victory here at the British Grand Prix. So Anthony, what made the difference out there today?
I really feel the track layout combined with the track temperatures we saw today suited their car. These cars come alive when the tyres are just at the right temperature, and the driver did a great job managing that as well. They just look so comfortable out there. It's like anything, it always looks so easy when it all just clicks.
The drivers are en route to the podium as we speak. What a fantastic win for the Red Bull team. They performed exceptionally today, keeping us firmly on the edge of our seats throughout the entirety of the race. Congratulations to everyone at the team.
So Sergio Perez wins the British Grand Prix. Once again, I think he won this in Season 1 as well, so he's loving the British Grand Prix in this career mode season. He, I think, becomes the 7th race winner in 9 races So we've had 7 different winners in 9 races now. That's pretty cool. I like stats like that. We come home in P10. Ricardo only manages P7, so it almost makes me think, I mean, we were still way behind Ricardo, and lap time wise, yeah, we're quite a bit off. We definitely were off the pace, but I just think generally our car actually wasn't that great here anyway, so that really did make us struggle. Ricardo sticks in P2 in the championship. Perez moves up to P3. I can barely talk. We drop from P3 to P6, so we've got some catching up to do. We're 40 points behind Charles Leclerc now at the top, so we've got to have some good races ahead of us to do anything, put up anything of a championship fight. And unfortunately, we also lose our lead in the Constructors' Championship. Red Bull take over the Constructors' Championship lead, only just ahead of us, under 10 points there, I believe it is. But yeah, we are now in 2nd place with McLaren 3rd, Ferrari 4th, and McLaren still down there in Mercedes still down there in 5th. But anyway, that's going to be it for this video, guys. Thank you very much for watching. If you enjoyed, please go ahead, like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.